So Jesus tells us today, whoever keeps my word will never see death. Now, what kind of death is Jesus talking about here? Because Lazarus was raised from the dead, but then he's not living right now. He'd be really, really old. He'd be like a couple thousand years old, a big old beard. And yet, Jesus came not to just make people live here on earth forever, but to give us a new kind of life. A life in which we would be able to live forever with the Lord in heaven. And that doesn't just mean that we just continue on with life as is. It's like, imagine the most beautiful thing you could possibly imagine. Think about a special moment that you wish would stay forever. And it goes away like that. You try to catch the perfect sunset. You try to eat the most delicious meal. You go on the best roller coaster imaginable. And yet it goes away. And yet, heaven is seen in little tiny glimmers in those most amazing moments. And you can't catch them here because there's nothing in this life that ultimately is what our heart was made for. Just like, if you think about it, do fish ever complain about being in the water? Have you ever heard of a complaining fish when he's in the water? Now, maybe when he's outside of the water, do you think he complains a little bit? It's like, excuse me, please put me back in the fish tank. So fish don't complain when they're in the water because they were made for the water, right? They're happy there. They don't want to go anywhere else. But do we ever complain about time flying by? Do we ever get uncomfortable about time? And maybe those of us who are a little older, we maybe recognize that sense of, I want time to stop, I want it to slow down. So why are we uncomfortable with time? Why are we always feeling like things are going by too quickly? Maybe parents and grandparents that are here, have you ever had that experience where you close your eyes and all of a sudden your child is like 5 feet taller? And you're like, what happened? Or the little tiny infant all of a sudden is going to kindergarten. There's this experience of time flying by, and we're saying, please, make it slow down. We're uncomfortable with living in time. And maybe it's because we weren't made for time. Fish are made for the water. So they're perfectly happy. Clams are made for the water. That's why they're happy as a clam. But people, even though we're born into time, we're actually not made for time. We're made for something very special. And that's what Jesus is talking about. He's saying your heart was made for something more. And if you live your life trying to find that here, saying, if I only have this, if I only have this, if I only have this, you're always going to be let down. But if you recognize that there's something beyond this world, or rather someone beyond this world, who's made your heart for him, then we start living our life differently. If we realize the goal is actually outside of our world, then we can live in this world getting ready for that time. So one of the ways that we need to get ready in this world is to really live as though Jesus were the Lord of our life. Now, who here believes that Jesus is God? Great. Do our actions always show what we believe? Not always. Because if we really believe that Jesus was God in the depth of our heart, would we live our lives differently? Would we make sure to always have time to worship God, especially in the Eucharist? If this is the high point of our life, and Sunday in particular is the high point of giving our yes back to God and saying, you are God, it's in a sense our bodily way of saying, I'm here, God, and I'm worshiping you with all of my heart. If we're not living that out, then somehow what we say is different than what we do. Or think about how much time do you spend on other different things? Fun things, good things. But how much time do you spend quietly talking to God in your heart? Sometimes if we think about it, we spend a lot more time with SpongeBob SquarePants rather than the Lord. And if someone was looking at how much time we spend to see who's more important, they might say, well, maybe they think SpongeBob SquarePants is God and the Lord of their life. That's kind of silly, isn't that? But we have to kind of look at our lives and what we do, how we walk, and to say, is it what I'm saying? If I say that Jesus is God, if I say that he's the Savior of my life, if I say that he is the most important person in my life, then we have to look at how we walk and make sure, are my actions showing the world that Jesus is in fact the Lord of my life? And it's a process. All of us, if we look at our heart, will recognize that there's areas that we fall short. There's areas in which we haven't really said that with our life. And that's where Jesus is coming to us each day for a new moment, to be able to say, walk with me. He says, do you love me? Follow me. And so every morning when you wake up, ask Jesus to help you make him be the Lord of your life. You know, something that's just beautiful to say is just to say, when you wake up, say, my Lord and my God, I love you. Jesus, help me to love you. Be the Lord of my life. If you want to sing a song to him or whatever, when you go to bed, Jesus, how did I live my life today? Did I live my life as though you were the most important person in my life? And Lord, in those ways in which I didn't live that out, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Help me tomorrow to give a greater yes. And if you do this in the morning, in the evening, and to just look throughout your day, Jesus is here to help you grow into living as though he was the Lord of your life. But you have to be willing to say yes to him. So ask the Lord today, Lord, help me. Help me to really look at you and to say with my actions that you are the Lord of my life.